Joining me here on the Gray Area podcast today, special guest, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver going into his third season. Simi Fehoko joining me on the podcast today. Simi, what's up, man? How you doing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, man? Appreciate you for having me on.
I appreciate you taking the time. Before we got started, I noticed that you got your Israel Adesanya shirt on. You're a big UFC fan, it looks like.
I follow the greats. I follow the greats. I don't like basketball. I follow players. So
Okay. Well, I got to ask you then, give me your top 3 UFC fighters of all time then.
oh, man. I'm wearing Adesanya. I don't think he's number one. For me, I like Conor McGregor, man. Point blank, period.
Okay.
McGregor's my guy. I'll rock with him. I like Ferreira going for a while. He's proven. And then I got to rock with Adesanya. So, they're interchangeable. I think Conor McGregor's number one, though.
Okay, we'll see if the notorious one makes his way back to the octagon here. I know actually he's going to be in tough with Michael Chandler, so I know that fight is coming for those two. So that's going to be something to look forward to seeing Conor McGregor get back in the octagon, see what he can do against Michael Chandler, who's a formidable opponent, really good for a long time inside the octagon. So, but again, man, I appreciate you taking the time. Gonna have some fun today. Obviously, in the middle of the off season. Mini camp is coming up. How are you feeling? I know, got practices and everything. How are you feeling these days?
Yeah, for sure. Last year, ended my season a little early in week 5 or whatever it was. It's my shoulder. And from then, my shoulder's feeling good. I'm healthy. Legs feel great. I feel great. And going into this, we're looking, it's all up from here. So I'm excited.
And you're going into your third season. What has changed for you now that you've gotten experience in the league? What's changed from day one to now in terms of how you go about your business and taking care of that on a day-to-day basis?
Right. That's a great question. I think, everything's always changing. When I first came in as a rookie, I was sort of just, I felt like a freshman all over again. You're in a room with Coop, you got MG, CD. You're like, man, what in the world?
So
I'm picking their brains here and there. Second year comes by. You're still learning. I started growing a little bit more as a player, more fundamentally sound, going more back to the basics, obviously cut short. But, going into this year, it's just all gas, no brakes. I feel like I understand the offense. Everything's – it's not too crazy, not too different. So, picking up the stuff quick. I still have, great vet presence in the room, but I feel like this year, I'm ready to ball out.
For folks who don't know, can you describe that learning curve for a player, for a wide receiver? Because you're coming from Stanford, you're coming into the NFL, game is a lot faster. Yep. You're learning new terminology. What's that process like for a player making that transition from college to the pros?
Man, it's crazy. You see it now with all the rooks that just came in this year. So it's like you get a whole bunch of information thrown at you, and it's like throwing something and hopefully it sticks. So it takes a lot of work and, a lot of studying outside of the facility. For me, I was more of like at Stanford, I was more of like, I learn it while I'm doing it type thing. Learn it with reps. And in the pros, it's like, you don't know when your reps are going to come. So you got to know that when it does come. So I think for us as, newer guys, it's sort of those things where you just got to be ready when your time comes.
And we've seen throughout the offseason a lot of guys getting their work in, whether it be at the facility or otherwise. We've seen you working at the Dak yard with Dak Prescott and some of the other guys as well. What's that process been like, getting to work with him and doing so in a really kind of a personal, intimate setting with him in his backyard and everything?
Yeah, for sure. I think, this year was a little different. This is my first year actually going out to his backyard, and getting some work in with him. It's been awesome, getting that timing down, getting that connection down, building that, that camaraderie, whatever it might be. It's just been great to be out there and actually get the opportunity to, work with my quarterback. So, it's honestly, a blessing. And obviously it's something that I think is great for Dak. And it's a great thing that he's doing for bringing in younger guys, all the other guys too. Some guys that, may not be a starter, but someone that's going to get some playing time. So it's going to be awesome. I think he's building that rapport with everybody. I think it's going to pay off.
We hear about his leadership all the time on and off the field, but you get to experience it on a daily basis. What is he like as a leader and as a person in and out of the locker room?
Yeah, no, that dude, he's the best leader I've been around, and point blank period. And I've been around a lot of great people. As far as someone that can take locker room, he just takes the room, whatever room he walks into, that he's in the room and he leads it. And I think that's awesome. I mean, that's a number one quality you need as a leader for the team, as a quarterback. So he does a great job. And like I said, one of the best leaders I've been around.
And now having a chance to play with him now going into your third year, you talked about the wide receiver room a little bit. Brandon Cooks now added to that room. What are you looking to learn from a guy who's been extremely productive throughout his entire NFL career, going along with CeeDee Lamb, who had a monster year? What are you hoping to learn from these guys in this room?
Yeah. I mean, B. Cooks, first thing first is, he's had a crazy career, long career, longevity, and he's been productive all those years too. So something just being a pro from him, whether it's his routine, the way he goes about himself, he's a pro through and through. And trying to mimic that, that's you'll be in good hands if you're anywhere close to what he's doing. So, and as far as CD, man, dude's a freak. So CD's my dog, so he knows, and he's been balling out, and so just learning from him, whether it's the way he reads defenses, whether he runs his routes, the way he does it, it's technique wise, the dude is a unicorn. So it's awesome to be able to work in a room with that. Even MG as well, dude is a freak as well, freak of nature. Just being able to work with them is amazing.
One thing I love so far, I love your energy. You seem like you're a really fun guy, energetic guy. Is that something that you bring to not just the team, but the wide receiver room? Is that something that you pride yourself on?
Absolutely. I try to come in every single day having, that mentality to, whether it's a bad day or a good day, it's always a good day. So that's how I pride myself, and that's how I go about my life in general.
And growing up in Salt Lake City, Utah, obviously, I'm gonna forgive you for being a Jazz fan, but you're from there, so I'm gonna let that slide.
You gotta let it slide, man.
Right? Because there's Mavericks all around here these days. But talk about growing up in Salt Lake City, your upbringing, and what got you into the love of the game of football that you wanted to pursue this as a career.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's a whole crazy story, man. Just the way it all went down, and growing up in Utah. I mean, football's big. Sports are big in general, but it's you don't see a lot of dudes come out of Utah. I mean, as of late, there's been a lot more people starting to come out of Utah. There's a lot more talent. Utah has a lot of talent. It's just a lot less than, say, California, Texas, Florida. Those are the three main states that are like produces the ballers, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I got into it at a young age. My parents sort of threw me in every single sport. They just said, all right, let's see what you're good at. Baseball lasted maybe 3 days, soccer lasted 5 days, I wasn't good at any of those things. So, I ended up with football, basketball, and then I ran track a little bit. But I mean, football started at a young age. Felt like I was decent, I was able to run around at 8 years old, but I mean, there's not much you can tell from, 8 years old. But, yeah, I ended up, high school came around. My parents sort of taught me growing up, sort of just like, hey, we're not paying for your college. You got to figure out a way to do it. So, high school came around. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can, I might be able to do something with this football. I'll shoot to get like a scholarship in state, here and there, trying to get something. I could probably walk on somewhere, something like that. But, sophomore year came around, offers started coming in. My first offer was from Clemson. So then that sort of started the ball rolling, all the in-state schools, and it sort of blew up from there. And I was blessed to have an opportunity to go, play in the Army All-American Bowl, things like that, where, I was just honestly blessed to be in that situation. And, obviously I chose Stanford as not a 4-year decision, more of a 40-year decision. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Didn't graduate yet. I promised my wife and my mom, I said, I'm going back. Don't worry. I promise you I'll go back. But I played my 3 years, took my shot, and, I'm here, and I'm blessed to be here.
Why Stanford? David Shaw, who was your coach there, why was Stanford the right place for you at that point in your life?
Man, so a lot of things that had to play into that. One of which is, I wanted to go on a 2-year LDS mission. So fresh out of high school, I left to South Korea. We don't have to, I could talk about it a little later, but Stanford was one of the schools that said, hey, we're going to hold your scholarship for 2 years. You'll have a spot for when you come back. We're totally fine with you going on your mission, whatever. Just come back and we'll have your spot. So that played into a big role. A couple schools ended up actually pulling my scholarship once they found out that I was going on a 2-year LDS mission. They didn't know what that was and how to deal with that. So, but yeah, Stanford. And then as far as just walking onto campus, it's beautiful, And then as far as just people you're surrounded with, I mean, you could be in a class with the next Steve Jobs, the next, anybody, you know what I mean? You never know what's going on. And, I wanted to surround myself with somebody or people that were considered, the best at what they do.
And for you, it sounds like faith is a big part of your journey as well. What does that mean for you, and how does that inform the way that you go about your daily life and your business in that way?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I thank, my Heavenly Father for everything that he's done for me and put me in positions that I'm in now. So I don't think I'm anywhere without him. And like you said, it's a big part of my life. I'm LDS, Latter-day Saint, Mormon, whatever you want to call it. And I grew up born into it. Utah, that's how it is, man. You're here in Utah. That's the biggest group, but yeah, no, it's a big part of my life and something that I believe in. And I mean, I wouldn't go 2 years away from the game of football just for something for fun. It wasn't something I was just doing for the heck of it.
I want to ask you then, so what did you learn about yourself in those 2 years that informs you today about football, life, and how that continues to help you each and every day?
Absolutely. So, I mean, just a little look into an LDS mission. It's 2 years away from home. You don't get to choose where you go. And it's sort of just like you're limited on what you can talk to. You can talk to your family here and once a week. So you could FaceTime home. Well, I guess they changed the rules now, but when I was out there, you could only FaceTime home for Mother's Day and Christmas. So,
oh wow!
Outside of that, you're emailing once a week. So, I mean, my wife waited for me for my 2 years as well. So she was emailing every week, back and forth. It's kind of like, but yeah. So as far as what we do, we wake up 6:30 every single day. So it's as far as playing into sports and stuff like that, being disciplined, being able to be on time, things like that. It helped me keep a schedule, make sure I'm on time, things like that. And I feel like it plays really well into sports and things like that, keeping you disciplined. And then basically from about 10:30 in the morning to about 9 o'clock at night, you're out on the streets talking to random people every single day.
Yeah.
And for me, I served in South Korea, so I'm out here doing it in Korean. So, I had to learn the language. I had to, talk to the people. You can't talk to people unless you know their language. So, studying and basically discipline. Point blank, I mean, it was a lot of discipline, and I feel like that plays into, growing me into not only the man I am today, but also the football player I am.
No, that's fantastic. And obviously taking those life lessons, obviously family supporting you in that. So I'm not gonna lie to you. If I tell my wife, hey babe, I'm finna go away for a couple of years, you got to wait for me. You're gonna only email me once a week. She would look at me with a lot of side eyes. So I appreciate the fact that your wife was like, look, I'm gonna let you, go do your thing. Obviously, this is a big part of your life. And clearly the family support that you have is a big part and big reason why you're here, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with that being said, now you complete the mission, you go to Stanford, you play your 3 years there. Walk me through what that phone call was like with Jerry Jones and the organization when you get drafted 5th round, 179th overall, and what that moment felt like for you, knowing all the things that had kind of culminated to get to that point for you.
Yeah, it was crazy to say the least. It was, man, I'm still like thinking back at it. It's like I'm speechless at it. So, coming up to that point, I took my shot. I redshirted my freshman year, played my sophomore year. We weren't very good, and then my last year we had the COVID year, so I only played 5 games. So, I mean, probably I'm looking at maybe 17 actual games where I played in college. So, I took my shot. I knew I didn't have quite the production that people want. You know what I mean? People see. And so for me, I'm just saying, you know what? I know I'm big, I know I'm fast, and I know I can play. So I took my shot, and leading up to that is, all the hard work, all the stuff, 2 years off, things like that, coming back, and you get to the point where, you get the call, you see it. I don't know if it's I don't know if they're drafting me. I don't know what they're saying. Hey, we want you as a free agent. So, it starts falling later in the days. You go through day 2, you go through 4th round. You're like, man, you're going almost through all of round 5. My agent told me 4 through 6. So, I'm like preparing myself for the 6th round. I'm looking around at family, and then you get that phone call, and Man, I don't even really remember if it was Jerry at first or if it was Will that first talked. But I know I talked to Jerry. I know I talked to McCarthy. I know I talked to what's her name? Jerry's daughter.
Oh, Charlotte, yeah.
Charlotte went to Stanford, so
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Yep, we need some more smart people on the team." And we just got smart. I'm like, "Yep, I'm here, man. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do." So, but yeah, it was definitely overwhelming, and tears, families crying, freaking out. It was awesome though.
Did you grow up a Cowboys fan?
So I Utah. So Utah doesn't have a team. So you sort of
Right.
root for whatever's around. And being America's team, I think my parents sort of just like one. I think there's a picture that circulates. My first Halloween, I had a Troy Aikman jersey on, a cowboy helmet. Like that was
Wow.
my first Halloween ever. And I mean, that was the first picture I posted of the cow. Like after I got drafted, it was. I mean, I wasn't I follow players. So
Sure.
like I said, it was sort of just like that's America's team. So I mean, hey, I mean Utah doesn't have a team, might as well be America's team. But I was all over the place with as far as teams and stuff.
So as you started to grow as a wide receiver, who were some of your favorite wide receivers that you
Man,
watched growing up?
man. So you obviously you pick the main ones. You pick with Randy Moss, the Calvin Johnsons, the Julio
Mm-hmm.
Jones. Those are the three guys, big body receivers, fast, and physical. So those were the guys. And then as far as like the game today, you look at the Mike Evans, you look at the you know man, I'm blanking I just blanked. Tim Patrick's one of them.
Oh yeah, from Denver, yeah.
Like just bigger body receivers that are
Mm-hmm.
more physical, and that's the type of game that I try to model my game after. So yeah,
That leads you. So, how would you describe yourself as a wide receiver? You talked about big body, big
yeah,
frame. How would you
yep,
describe yourself as a player?
yeah. Man, I think if you look at like what I did in college, that's the type of receiver that I feel like I am. I feel like I'm a big body, fast, physical receiver. I can high point the ball. I can do stuff like that. Not to say I can't run any routes. I'm not limited. You saw the video of RP
Uh-huh.
saying, you know what you are. I feel like I can run routes as well, but I feel like that my specialty is being able to make the contested catch. Big body, box out, high point ball type receiver.
And for this team overall, the last couple of years winning 24 games, unfortunately having lost to the 49ers in both, years in the playoffs. But where has this team grown in your mind, just not from a day-to-day standpoint, practice, habits-wise? What have you seen in terms of the biggest growth of this team that gives you confidence that going into this upcoming season, you can go that much further in the playoffs?
Man, yeah, I think just seeing how we've been working from like the off-season training to like now, you see the way that people carry themselves. The way it's a lot less, oh, it's OTA. We could take some time. It's a lot more urgent as far as this is the time to do it. This is we need to be locked in. And you see it from not only like the main leaders like Dak and like TP and them, but you see it from everybody. You see it from the dudes that just came in as rookies. And you see it from, and I think that's just how that's our standard. I feel like that's what we pride ourselves on, and we see that as our standard, and we want to hold ourselves to that.
Do you feel like there's an extra sense of urgency with the success that the team has had, knowing how close this team appears to be? Is there that extra sense of urgency going into this year?
100%. Every year I feel like we say we have that urgency. I feel like there's something different about it this year. I feel like we have the pieces to make this thing go. And I'm excited to see what happens.
So tell me, what excites you every day? What gets you out of bed? Obviously, playing football is what you
Right.
love to do, but even outside of that, what are the things that kind of get you going on a day-to-day basis?
Man, outside of that, outside of ball, ball takes up a lot of our life,
Sure.
but for me, obviously, I told you I have a little one coming the next
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks. I'm excited for that. That's going to definitely get me up out of bed every morning. It doesn't
Early
matter what
mornings for
time
sure.
it doesn't matter what time it is. I'm gonna be up out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
Outside of that, things I like to do outside of that, I have a little dog. We take care of him, a micro golden doodle. And then as far as that, I'm a avid fisherman. I just started. I'm new to Texas. I figured I had to pick up a bass pole and start going out there to random pole or ponds and start fishing. but yeah, those are things that I like to do. Outside of that, I want to be an entrepreneur at the end of this. NFL stands for not for long. So hopefully, I ride this out as long as I can, and then, hopefully end up, being an entrepreneur, starting my business. I have a couple cookie companies coming out in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So I'm excited about all that stuff. So, but yeah, I think there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that question. It might be a little loaded, but I could probably talk for a while. But yeah, no, there's a lot of things, but yeah, main ones: family, faith, football. Done.
There you go. And I've seen you picking up the whole fishing game and trying to improve and all of that. Is that just something that you just like, look, I'm gonna pick up something and start doing it? Or was that something that you had seen that you had been wanting to start for a while?
Yeah. So my wife kind of makes fun of me. So last year was golf. Last year I bought like 3 sets of golf clubs. I was going out every day that I could. This off season it's fishing. I had bought like 6 poles, all the fishing bait, like all the baits, all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But no, it was something I grew up in Utah, so fishing was something I grew up doing. It's just we don't have bass like the Texas bass out here.
Yeah.
So I might as well try it out here. And I think I was over at Dak's house. I seen Tad in the backyard just fishing on the pond or fishing the creek. And I'm like, oh, I got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So ever since then, it's been kind of like my nightly routine. I've gotten a couple of the guys that come out. Dennis Houston's come out. Chauncey Golston's come out a couple times. MG's trying to get out here. Antonio Callaway. I'm trying to get all the guys. All the new guys too are interested in coming out. So it's something just to clear the mind, man. It's
For
good
sure.
to be outside and just get your mind off a ball. So I love it. I love it.
Who would you say you're closest to on the team in terms of, friendships that you've developed? Obviously, you're going to be around your wide receiver guys a lot.
Right.
But who are some of the guys that you've taken to throughout your time with Dallas so far?
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with just the fact that I spend the most time with the receivers, that I end up having the best connections with them. So for me, my locker mate's JT, Jalen Tolbert, he's my dog. And I spent a lot of the time with MG. Last year, it was with Noah. Obviously, Noah Brown was my guy. And then, it's the main 3 I would say is CD, MG, and JT. Those are the guys that I'm always around. Dennis Houston's also another one. But those it's really just the receivers. Like, those are my dogs, really. and Rico's my guy too. Rico Dowdell. He ended up being on IR with me all last year, so we went through it all together. So we were sort of used to it.
When you look at this team, and I wanted to ask you about Jalen, because for him going into his second season, how excited are you for him and his growth to be able to help contribute to this offense?
Absolutely. Yeah, the dude has grown a lot. And I think, he sort of had to deal with the same thing that I did my rookie year. You come into a room with a lot of good receivers, and so it's a little different than college, especially coming from when you're the man to now, you're in a group of really good receivers, a lot of them, dudes that were balling. So having to, learn a whole new offense, things like that. He's made giant steps. He's ready to ball out. I'm excited for him. I'm excited for this whole entire receiving core. You'll see a lot of the guys coming a little different this year.
Yeah, your wide receivers coach, Robert Prince, obviously your head coach, Mike McCarthy. For those that don't know, what's it like playing for those two with Robert Prince and Mike McCarthy as your head coach and wide receivers coach and Robert Prince?
RP, man. RP's the man. You the energy from him anytime you meet him. He's the exact same way. Doesn't matter if a camera's on, it doesn't matter if the camera's off. He's the exact same way, and he's brutally honest. So he'll tell you how it is, and I love that as a coach. As far as McCarthy, Mike, he's the man. He's ready to chef it up on offense and call out the plays. He's excited for this year, and I'm excited for it as well.
How are you feeling personally about Schottenheimer now, the new offensive coordinator? Yeah. A lot of change happening there with that. How are you feeling personally with your role and what's going to be happening with the entirety of this offense going into this upcoming year?
Yeah. I'm excited for everything. Point blank. I'm obviously excited for my role and what it looks like. And, obviously it's changing every single day. You sort of get the nuances of for me, I see myself as the big body receiver, and someone's got to do the Noah Brown blocking role. You know what I mean? So it might as well be someone that's, and we've talked about this before, and we're excited for what happens. And obviously it changes here and there, but I'm excited for this year. And Shotty is a great dude, and he's got a lot of great ideas, and the thing that I see that's different between last year and this year is just like the energy around the new coaches, around, McCarthy, around the people that are still there. You see the energy shifted a little bit. Everybody's a little more wired, amped. And you can tell it comes out in their coaching. It comes out in, their play style. I love it. The way they're made some switches, and, I'm excited for the fans to see all that too.
I about to say, I'm sure for this fan base, that's exciting to hear because the energy that surrounds this team. I want to ask you, what have you learned about being a Dallas Cowboy and the relationship to the fans and this fan base who obviously cross the entire spectrum when it comes to their love for this football team? What have you learned about being a Dallas Cowboy in that way?
Man. As a Dallas Cowboy, man, everything is amplified. So
Yeah.
if you're doing great, the fans love you. If you're doing, not so great, you might get a little, here and there, you might get some crazy messages in the DMs, all that stuff. But yeah, no, that's why I said everything is amplified and everything's under a microscope as a Dallas Cowboy, which is good and bad. You get your pros and cons, and obviously, you just got to deal with it. At the end of the day, you got to play ball. So we're excited for this year, and I'm knowing that the fans are going to be excited this year as well.
You said something very interesting that I want to touch on real quick, because in the era of not just the athlete, but also social media in that way, how do you kind of, whether it be the quote unquote block out the noise or whatever the case may be, with all the things, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, dealing with that as an athlete, what that looks like today?
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, mine might be a little different than some of the other guys just because of the way I was, it sort of played into that whole 2-year LDS mission. I dealt with a whole lot of, things that weren't very nice. I got alcohol poured on me, spit on, things like that, where it's just like, I dealt with rejection. I've dealt with people talking crazy. And so now when people do it, it's just one of those things. It's like, I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, like, we still got to go out and do our job. And I know for a fact that I'm doing my stuff to the best of my ability. And if people have issues with that, that's fine. At the end of the day, it comes down to the coaches and the players, who plays and who doesn't. So it is what it is.
It sounds like learned a lot of perspective dealing with some of those things that can be much more of importance versus just playing a football game, but
Right.
being able to take that perspective seems pretty cool there. So I'm excited for what you got going on this year. Obviously, we've talked it on a little bit, obviously getting the fishing, those kinds of things. What are some of the other things that you're excited about? I know you had touched on it a little bit. You got a cookie business. It sounds like I'm a big cookie guy too. I love my chocolate. I'm a traditional chocolate chip cookie guy.
We got them
So,
too. Yeah.
okay. So tell us a little bit about that. What you got going on there?
Yeah. So we're franchising a Crepe. It's called Crepe Cookies. So it started in Utah, obviously hometown. It's similar to Crumble. It's
Okay.
like you have your 2 set cookies every week, and then you have your rotating menu. So it's like 1 week it's going to be like a cereal week. So you'll have your cinnamon toast crunch cookie, you'll have your fruity pebbles cookie. Then the next week it could be like a candy bar. So you'll have your Twix cookies, Snickers. Anyways, it's in my opinion one of the best cookies I've had. And I'm a big sweets guy. I got to tell you that up front.
Same.
In the season, I'm fighting to get my weight down so that I can make weight and not get fined. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to get fined, but but no, yeah, it's kind of, I feel like it's kind of ironic. I'm opening up a cookie business when I'm, trying to fight to get, you know what I mean? But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I'm excited. It's called Crepe Cookies. We plan on opening up the first one in Frisco, 1st of September. So as soon as we get back from camp, we should have our grand opening. Then after that, we should have a couple other locations in Prosper, McKinney, Plano, and Salina to be initial 5. And then we're starting to branch out all of DFW. So it should be pretty fun. I'm excited.
I'm sure you got a lot with not just the business, as you mentioned, family man, a baby boy on the way. So the calendar and the time is going to be well spent between football, business, and family, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'll have my hands full. That's for sure.
What do you want fans to know about not just you as a player, but this team that gets them excited about what's going to happen for the Cowboys this year?
Oh, man. To be excited. I think point blank, I just don't be a fan later. That's all I want to say is don't be a fan later, because I'm telling you, this year is going to be special.
Looking forward to it. I'm sure Cowboys fans love to hear that because, as we mentioned earlier, there's a passionate fan base that loves its Cowboys, good, bad, or indifferent. So before I let you go, this is something that obviously you continue to do yourself. You are now jumping into the podcasting game, or been in the podcasting game yourself for a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that. Is that something that you want to continue once your career is over with, or is it something that you are starting to learn more about and want to continue to do more?
Absolutely. I think, with me, like I said, I want to be an entrepreneur. And so I got a whole lot of ideas that come to my head, every single day. I lose sleep over it. I'm thinking about the next thing I can do, and I think podcasting is one of the biggest things that you've seen people, for example, Will Compton, he did it with his homie over at the Titans, and they blew up. They're doing great. And I think that concept of being able to have those connections, I have great connections with dudes on the team where you can feel comfortable enough to, hey, come on the podcast. I feel like it's a great opportunity, and it's obviously something I'd love to explore somewhere down the line. Obviously, got my hands juggling with a whole bunch of stuff right now. So, but yeah, absolutely, it's something that I'm definitely interested in. And I don't know how it looks, but I'm willing to learn and figure it out.
I'll end it with this one then. Who is the one interview that you want to sit down with and have at any point during your career?
Ooh, any point. Okay, I'll give you someone. For me, I spent time interviewing, not interviewing, but talking to my guy is Amari Cooper. The dude is intellectually on another level. I'd love to pick his brain. I've talked to him before, and that's my guy. But he's, whether we're talking about football, whether you're talking about off the field, whether you're talking about religion, the dude is just intellectually somewhere higher than, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain it, but that is a dude that you could pick his brain about literally anything. And he can, yeah, I don't even really know how to explain it, but yeah, that's someone that I would definitely love to sit down, think out questions and ask him what his opinion and thoughts are.
No, that's interesting because we've come to know that he's an avid reader, chess player. Like, he does a lot of things that you look at. You say for a wide receiver, you wouldn't necessarily think that he would be out here doing, but I could tell that this is a man who's clearly about wanting to learn more each and every day. It sounds like so.
That guy is something different. I'll tell you that. He was one of the guys too for me when I first came in. He was, as a rookie, you know what I mean? You look up to vets, but he sort of put his arm around me, took me under his wing. And sort of just got me sort of thinking right as far as, the game, NFL, as far as all that goes. So, he's one of my close friends that I would consider. I'm excited to see what he does over in Cleveland. And, he's obviously played well last year. I'm excited to see what he does again.
Well, Simi, this was absolutely fantastic. Tell the folks where they can find you, whether it be on social media, what you got going on, so they can keep up with you these days.
Yeah, man. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever. TikTok is great. I try to post funny content on there, but yeah, just Simi Fehoko. I don't even know it's all changed, but it changes here and there. But yeah, you can just look up the name, man.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time with me on the Gray Area podcast. You've got a lot going on, a lot of positive things going on, but at the same time, excited for you and your future, and obviously for this team, man. So I appreciate you taking the time with me today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.